What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck centered around Salazzle-GX. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. It helps us out a lot and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, now, like I just said, the deck I'm using today is centered around Salazzle-GX, and for those of you that play the video game, which I'm assuming is the very vast majority of you. If there's any of you that don't play the video game at all and just play the TCG, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm actually kind of interested to see how many of you there actually are. But anyway, if you play the video game, you know that Salazzle is a pain in the butt to get. First of all, you have to... Okay, so basically the way that you evolve Salandit into Salazzle in the video game, for those of you that don't know, and if you know, well, just tune me out for like the next 30 seconds, is you have to have a female Salandit. Seems easy enough, right? Just have a female Salandit and level it up into a Salazzle, then it'll evolve. Well, unfortunately, Salandit I think it was like a 1 in 8 Salazzle, or Salandit are female. So you have a 12.5% chance of finding a female Salandit. And then Salandit isn't even like that super easy to come by. I mean, it'd be one thing if like there was a route where Salandit were like 90% appearance, so it's like, I just got to dedicate 5 minutes to finding a female one. No, Salandit, if I remember correctly, are actually somewhat hard to come by. So not only do you have to find a Salandit, you have to find a female one, and that just makes it so much harder for breeding, for shiny hunting, all that. And this is very reminiscent of Combee. The fact that if you have a male Combee, shoutouts to my friend who caught a shiny male Combee, you're basically just stuck with that. Like, you can't evolve it, it doesn't do much of anything at all, and that got me thinking, well, why does Game Freak keep doing that? Why do you have, like, Pokemon that they only evolve if they are one specific gender? I mean, I think, personally, in my opinion, I think if you're gonna do that, then give the male an evolution too, or give the female an evolution too. Like, don't make it so it only evolves if it's a specific gender. I mean, to be fair, if it's like, if there was a line where it evolved into this if it was male and this if it was female, I think that that would be really, really cool. I mean, then it would still have to be gender specific to evolve, but at least if you got one or the other, you wouldn't just be SOL. So that's just my opinion. I think they shouldn't do stuff like that, where if you catch like a female or a male Salandit, male Combee, you're just kind of stuck with a very mediocre Pokemon. So that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. But anyway, on to the deck. Like I said, centered around Salazzle-GX, and I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker because, like I said, I've been trying to speed this up a little bit because I don't exactly have the time that I used to dedicate to the deck videos due to, you know, med school being a thing. But anyway, Salazzle, 200 HP, so decently bulky, but not incredibly bulky, but still good enough, with Diabolical Claws, 2 energy. That's really what I'm using Salazzle for, is Diabolical Claws, 2 energy for 50 times the number of prize cards you have taken. So basically it's just an amazing late game cleaner. Like, once you take 3 prizes, all of a sudden you're doing 150 for 3 damage, and Salazzle just cleans up games very easily. I mean, it has 2 other attacks that it can work with. Heat Blast for 2 energy does 110, and Queen's Haze for 2 energy. Discard all energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So very kind of specific, but in certain situations it can come through clutch. So really, this whole deck is just centered around taking prizes early and then putting Salazzle in a spot where it can sweep late game. Orbomb did a version of this deck with Lurantis, and in my testing, I think that his version is a little bit inferior, or is no. His version is superior. My version is a little bit inferior to the Lurantis version, but I mean, hey, try it out for yourself. And also, I built this deck, and this was the version I said I was going to go with, so I am a man of my word, or at least I try to be. So I'm just going with that. As for the rest of the Pokemon, we're obviously basically just doing a Volcanion deck with Salazzle thrown in. So we have 4/4 of Baby Volcanion and Volcanion-EX. Just steam up, get everything set up with Power Heater. Try to take prizes with these guys early. 1 Turtonator for Nitro Tank, just in case we don't want to use Queen's Haze GX, which I Honestly, I've never used it yet. I mean, I'm not saying that it's useless, because there are definitely situations that it can come through very clutch, but I just haven't used it yet. Turtonator with Nitro Tank can be a little more applicable to this deck because of how many times you can potentially steam up, get extra damage, things get knocked out, so it's just a way of getting a ton of energy on board all at once. 3 Lele, because I mean this is a post-rotation deck in case you can't tell. So Lele is there to be able to search out our supporters, just be like essentially the Pokemon draw support. And then as for the items, 1 Escape Rope to act as a, well, pseudo Guzma, but also because we have enough stuff that has annoyingly heavy retreat costs that we don't want to have to pay, so Escape Rope's one way of getting out of that. 2, Field Blower, because Garbotoxin would shut this deck down, just shut down the abilities. I mean, it wouldn't shut down Salazzle so much, but the fact that early game we do rely on Steam Up a lot would cause this to be a lot more difficult than it needed to be. 2, Rescue Stretcher to just kind of recycle Pokemon, because we do kind of like having energy in the discard pile with Power Heater and Nitro Tank. Well, actually, wait. Let me read. Yeah, it was discard pile. For whatever reason, I was thinking it was from the deck, but that's Kiawe. But yeah, so Rescue Stretcher is our way of recurring Pokemon. 4 Ultra Ball gets us what we want when we want. We are using Brooklet Hill as the stadium of choice in this deck so that we can search out Volcanions, and really just Volcanions. Unfortunately, not enough room to run Starmie in this deck, partially because I'm running Salazzle. So I mean, that's another reason why you should probably not try to do a Volcanion Salazzle deck, but I mean, hey, if you want to do it, it's actually pretty fun. Again, I want to say I think Aurabomb's Lurantis Salazzle version is a little bit better, but I mean, this is still a cool version that I've had some fun with. As for the supporters, 4-4-3 of Sycamore N and Guzma, that's just kind of what I'm going with at this point. I mean, it works. Well, it works relatively well. I mean, I want the max number of draw supporters so I can always have one when I want one. I want to have plenty of Guzma, especially in this deck where, like I said, we have a lot of heavy retreat costs that we don't want to pay. Guzma is another way to get out of those. Then as for the tech supporters, we have Kukui to help with some of the damage, just act as like a... well, not act as an extra Steam Up because Steam Up's 30, but just to add a little bit of damage to help out the math here and there. I really do like running 1 Kukui in a lot of decks, just because, I mean, Kukui is very, very nice. And then 1 Acerola, another way of getting our heavy retreat Pokemon out of the active spot. Like if our opponent Guzma's up, a Turtonator or a Volcanion and hits them, we can just Acerola them back up. As for the tools, we're running 3 Choice Band to help with the damage output, 2 Fighting Fairy Belt to give longevity to our basics, 2 Float Stone to help with those nasty retreat costs, and finally 12 Fire Energy so that we have them to steam up when we want. I tried 11 for the longest time, but as soon as I switched to 12, for whatever reason, it just worked a lot better. Now that could, and actually that's probably due a lot to just luck and drawing into stuff when I needed it, but 12 was what worked out, 11 just didn't, so that 1 energy card must make all the difference in the world, apparently. So yeah, that's the deck. Let's go ahead and see it in action. Alrighty, we have found one against a big black 4-4-4, so we might even have the type advantage because of our Volcanion, so let's hope that that's how it plays out. We 2 win the coin flip, so we will get to go first. And I start off with... well, see, now that's just terrific. That's just phenomenal. I love seeing that. When I was testing with this deck, a lot of times I ran into problems drawing energy when I needed it. So apparently running 12 energy in a deck means that you'll never draw it, and then I will have hands like this where it's like, yeah, you get a Sycamore and literally just a ton of energy, so enjoy. Oh, we're up against a Typhlosion deck. If that gets set up, that could be a problem. Yes, I would like to draw a couple extra cards. I get a Volcanion, I can definitely work with that, and my opponent, of course, starts Talonflame. So that's just kind of unfortunate right there. What I'm going to do is attach, and then, you know what, Sycamore. I need a new hand. I really do. See if I can get something else to work with. I get another Volcanion. And... okay, so yeah, with this hand, what I can do is potentially... okay, with this hand, what I can do is knock out this Talonflame turn 1, maybe, if I pick up my Salazzle from the discard pile. Never mind. I was about to say what I could do is attach the energy to Salandit, grab the Salazzle with the rescue stretcher, and then Kukui for that extra 20 damage to be able to knock it out. But, ooh, okay, all I need is an energy. I just need an energy, and I'll be able to knock out this Talonflame, which, I mean, 7 cards, and I run 12 energy. Please. Please, please, please give me an energy to work with. Of course we don't get it. Why would we? Man, that's just frustrating. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and evolve into Salazzle, Ultra Ball, get rid of the Kukui and the Turtonator. At this point, I'm just going to Lele for an N. Okay, yeah, there are 8 energy left in the deck, and I couldn't draw into one. That's honestly just frustrating at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and Lele for that N so that my opponent doesn't have what he arrow blitzed for. And then I'm hoping if I can do that long enough, I will be able to pull off the win. And there's 2 energy. I couldn't have had that. Of course, I couldn't have had that last turn. But what I am going to do here is just play that energy onto Salazzle and then go for Heat Blast in order to put some damage on this Talonflame at the very least. Maybe put it in range of Power Heater next turn if I choose to go for that. And yeah, that might just be what I have to do. My opponent is going to end once again. Honestly, that's okay, because my hand wasn't particularly great to begin with. I probably should have played the Choice Band down so that I could get that out of the deck. But I even get a... Ooh, I get an Escape Rope. Because what I can do with that, maybe... So I think this turn... Oh, there's even a Float Stone. So let's Float Stone up the Volcanion. And then let's end my opponent once again. I get the Escape Rope right back. So I was going to end my opponent, just then manually retreat into my Volcanion. But let's go ahead and... Actually, Talonflame is not a big threat. Man, I've drawn into Acerola and Escape Rope like every time off end. It's weird. But Talonflame is not a threat in itself. Cyndaquils are. If I can just take all of them out, then I will be able to win the game off of that. So the fact that I was able to end my opponent, and then let's go ahead and retreat back into Salazzle. Let's Brooklet Hill for another Volcanion just to thin out the deck a little bit more. And yeah, let's Heat Blast this Cyndaquil, take a prize. And yeah, now that's 1 Cyndaquil out of the way, just 3 more to go, and then I will be able to just kind of claim the win on that. So my opponent is slowly racking up damage on my Salazzle, which is unfortunate, but it's not the worst thing in the world. He does get another Cyndaquil, so there's once again 3 on the board, and luckily my ends are starting to come through at this point. Like, the ends are starting to... I haven't end my opponent like into 2 Typhlosions and 2 Rare Candy and a Sycamore or something like that. Just something ridiculous towards like, really? Really? But my opponent is just going to Ultra Ball for a Quilava. I mean, that's to be expected at this point. My opponent wasn't going to not be able to attack forever. Or wasn't going to not get a Typhlosion forever, and unfortunately I don't have any means to an N at this point. So what I think I'm going to do... My Salazzle has a bunch of damage on it. So what I actually think I'm going to do this turn is probably try to knock out the Talonflame. I think I'm going to Acerola up the Salazzle. Yeah, let's go ahead and Acerola up the Salazzle. Gives me energy in hand. Heals off all that damage. I can play the Salandit right back down as well and then just attach energy. There are 3 in the discard pile, so there's no point in playing that. And I think my Volcanions are what I'm going to start powering up at this point as well. Let's play the Choice Band just so I don't draw into it. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and Power Heater, knock out the Talonflame, power up the Volcanions in the background. This way, if my opponent knocks out this Volcanion, then I just have it's 1 prize, and I have a Volcanion-EX in the background to be able to knock out my opponent's Typhlosion, which I know he got because there was one. I finally wasn't able to interrupt his. Arrow Blitz, And yeah, we do see the knockout onto my Volcanion. I'm just going to promote this Volcanion with the Float Stone on it. And actually, you know what? Let's Ultra Ball get rid of the Brooklet Hill, and I think the other Ultra Ball actually. Grab another baby Volcanion. That way I can just use this turn to power up even more. Because, I mean, I think my lead might actually allow me to be able to play around this a little bit more. Let's energy up this guy. Fighting Fury Belt up this guy. This way if my opponent Massive Eruptions and only hits 2, then I will be able to still survive the turn. Let's play that down. And... How much? Let's just... Okay, let's Power Heater, hit for 30, power up Volcanions a little bit more. And actually, you know what I probably should have done? I probably should have steamed up once, so that an attack from Salazzle-GX would have been able to knock out this Typhlosion. But either way, I mean, my opponent has another Typhlosion. He's going to be able to... Oh man, he hit 3. I was hoping he only hit 2, but he was able to hit 3. We do see another Volcanion. I mean, I'm going to promote my other Volcanion. And at this point, I actually think Salazzle might be a solid attacker, because I'm going to be... Yeah, I'll be hitting for 150 with Salazzle. So let's go ahead and just retreat into... I guess it really doesn't matter which Volcanion I go into. Let's go into this Volcanion. Volcanic Heat. Knock out this Typhlosion for weakness. Take a prize. And now Salazzle will be hitting for 150 damage with, I think it's Diabolical Claw. And so, yeah, now Salazzle is starting to come in clutch. It's still unfortunate that I missed the Kukui early on in order to knock out the Talonflame, which caused an extra turn. But it still is kind of ended up working out. Now my opponent, like, that's the problem with Typhlosion, you run so much energy, and yeah, you can take, never mind. I was going to say, like, you can run so much energy so that you hit for massive amounts of damage with Massive Eruption all the time. And please hit 2. Hits 3 once again. Unfortunate. So what I can do right here is... Ooh, yeah, I can do this, and hopefully it might... And it actually might put my opponent in a horrible spot. Because what I can do is energy up the Salazzle. Let's just grab the other Volcanion, that way I don't draw into it off of N. And then let's end my opponent down to 2, because he needs Rare Candy Typhlosion in order to be able to win the game next turn. If he does not get Rare Candy Typhlosion, I will potentially be able to win the game. Yeah, there's really nothing I want to grab with Rescue Stretcher at this point. And then let's just Volcanic Heat, knock out this Typhlosion, and now all my opponent has left is a single Cyndaquil, and I can just Lele for a Sycamore or a Draw Supporter or of some kind next turn. And yeah, my opponent sees the writing on the wall at that point and just decides to forfeit. So, I mean, I don't blame them at all. That was... Like, N was able to come through clutch in the end for me. Unfortunately, my opponent never hit just a 2 energy Massive Eruption. So, I mean, you know what? I consider it pseudo justice. But either way, we were able to come out with that one. Salazzle, that's the problem. It just barely misses out on good damage numbers. And you know what? Let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against Reen G6 with a Fire, Dark, and Psychic deck. So, safe to say I have absolutely no idea what my opponent is running. I mean, I keep hoping for that Garbodor Salazzle deck that I heard about way in the beginning, but it just never happens. It really doesn't. What if this is Garbodor Salazzle Weavile? Ooh, if that's the case, then I'm just in a whole lot of trouble. We are going to get at least one mulligan card off of this, and only one, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, like, this is not the best opening hand, but if I can, like, Ultra Ball, if I get an Ultra Ball for a baby Volcanion, then that's something I can definitely work with. Now let's grab a mulligan card, see what we get. Another Fire Energy, and another Salazzle. So that's just great. I love having all my Salazzles in the discard pile immediately, and I'm not going to choice band up my Volcanion because, I mean, it's really, there's no reason to. And, alright, so we draw into absolutely nothing. This deck is starting to annoy me a little bit. Okay, one thing I've noticed about post-rotation, you're running a lot larger number of supporters, but it seems that you never are able to get the supporter you want when you want it. That's kind of what I've noticed. Like, okay, so in the old standard, you were able to play like VS Seeker, and then like 3/3 was kind of what was pretty normal, like of N and Sycamore. So you essentially had 10 means to draw supporters. In the new decks, you're actually, even though you're running 4/4 is starting to become the new standard, you're actually running less because the fact that you don't have VS Seeker, so you have to run larger copies of cards like Guzma and stuff like that. So even though you technically have more supporters, you have less access to them. So honestly, I really did like VS Seeker. I think it needs to come back. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like VS Seeker, making sure that you don't waste them was kind of just was a big proponent of like how effective a game plan could be. Like the fact that you were able to the fact that there was an added level of skill to using your VS Seekers, I think added added skill to the game, where initially there wasn't as... What am I trying to say? So what I'm trying to say is VS Seeker added a whole nother dimension of skill to the game, where you had to use your VS Seekers properly and save them for later when you would need them. In this new meta, without VS Seeker, it really is, okay, do you draw into your supporter at the right time? It really is a whole lot more luck-based than with VS Seekers. Because, yeah, you can run 4N, 4 Sycamore, and 4 Guzma, but the fact that you don't have VS Seeker means that it's just like, okay, I just have to draw into it. Like, I don't have access to it if it's in the discard pile. Like, I just have to draw into it, plain and simple. And, yeah, there is the added effect of being able to, like, the added part of the meta where you have to, conserve your resources and play a lot more careful. And, I get where Pokemon was going with that, trying to slow the meta down, because the meta got ridiculously fast. Like, if you weren't hitting for, 150 damage turn 1, you were plain and simple gonna lose. Like, that's just how it went. In the match, I'm kind of talking about all this because I really have no other real plays. Like, I've literally just attached a Volcanion and attacked and knocked out a Salazzle. So, I'm ahead on prizes, but my opponent is going to be able to immediately knock out this Volcanion with his Raticate. So, it wasn't really worth talking about the match so much, just because, okay, my opponent's evolving up stuff, I'm drawing dead, and that's where it led me to the fact that I think that a metagame without VS Seeker is a lot more luck-based in terms of, okay, do you draw it, not do you set up your resources to be able to use them later when you need them. I think there was a lot more setup, there was a lot more skillful use of supporters when VS Seeker was in the game, and now without VS Seeker it's just kind of like, oh, well, alright, do I draw into it when I need it? If I don't draw into it, then I just lose. So, either way, my opponent is able to immediately knock me out, and once again, I don't draw into a supporter. So, well, I don't draw into a draw supporter. So what I'm going to do, play down another Volcanion, and then just play this onto this Volcanion, and then Power Heater to get some energy back on the board. Hopefully I can get some stuff going. I am going to put it onto the other Volcanion and the Salazzle, or the Salandit. That way, if I draw into a Rescue Stretcher, I can immediately, into my Salandit, that way I can immediately get a Salazzle with my Rescue Stretcher later. So my opponent is just going to go ahead and bridge it. This Raticate can only 3-hit KO me. So that's pretty nice, actually, the fact that Volcanion avoids the KO by 10 HP. But yeah, my opponent's just getting set up all over the place, getting a couple Salazzle in play, getting a Raticate in play. Like, this is This is getting pretty ugly pretty quickly. So I do get my rescue stretcher. Ooh, this is where it can get kind of tricky. So do I want to show that I have a Salazzle on the bench? Because then he can target that thing down with Guzma. You know what? I kind of have to do this. I just have to, in case, like, I know as soon as I hold on to the rescue stretcher, my opponent's going to have an end. So let's go ahead and do that. And then Power Heater, hit the Raticate for some good damage, and then power up my Salandit, or fully power up my Salazzle, and then start powering up the Volcanions in the background, because those guys will be what allows me to win the game. My opponent is slowly powering up his own, hit another Salazzle, and oh, yep, I knew it. I knew if I held on to my rescue stretcher that my opponent would have an end. Like, I'm just psychic sometimes, guys. What can I say? And Raticate will not be able to knock me out just yet, so I will be able to get off yet another Power Heater and power up my Volcanions, which is definitely what I want to do. So if I get a double Steam Up, if I can just get one more Fire Energy, I need one Fire Energy off of this Sycamore. Oh, thank the Lord I got it. So I'm going to be able to double Steam Up, knock out this Raticate, while powering up Volcanions as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Field Blower, get rid of my opponent's Choice Band and Muscle Dumbbells. That way he can't just promote that other Raticate to knock me out. Well, I mean, I guess he can because I'm only 10 HP away. But let's play that other Volcanion, put the energy onto the Volcanion-EX and the other baby Volcanion. That way I still have another Power Heater later if I want one. And now I'm in a... Wow, my opponent ending me actually ended up turning the tables completely, because now I think I'm in a position to win. Yeah, he can promote his Raticate and knock me out, but all I have to do is just Guzma up that Salazzle and knock it out with my Volcanion-EX, and then my Salazzle will be able to take a knockout to win the game. Like, that's all I need to do in order to win, and... Oh, this is getting close. This is getting really close, but I think we're going to be able to come through. I actually think we're going to be able to come through, simply because of my opponent ending me out of a bad hand. So, very glad I decided to play that rescue stretcher and put my Salazzle back down. That way I didn't draw into it when I did, and didn't draw into it later, instead of like that Sycamore that ended up getting me what I needed to take the knockout on Raticate and set up the win for me. So yeah, Raticate will be able to knock me out with a 10 damaged Enhanced Fang, which honestly I think is kind of funny. But I will be able to get a knockout this turn on something. Like, I think... Yeah, my opponent's just taking his time. I don't know why. Like, Raticate's not going to be retreating out. Like... Unless you have a Float Stone or something, yeah, just Enhanced Fang. You knock me out anyway. Like, I don't know what my opponent was necessarily thinking about. But let's go ahead and promote the Salazzle. And then Float Stone up the Volcanion, Guzma up my opponent's Salazzle, bring in my Volcanion, and then knock it out with Volcanic Heat, because I will be able to hit for weakness. And now I am one prize away from winning the game. My opponent really can't do anything to keep me from winning the game. I guess the only thing he can do is Lysander up a baby Volcanion and hope that I don't have the energy to retreat it out. I think that's the only thing my opponent can go for, because Volcanion takes a knockout. I mean, Volcanion just manually retreats out. Salazzle takes a knockout with Diabolical Claw, because I'll be hitting for 250 at the absolute least. I mean, 280 if my opponent brings out a GX, and yeah, he is going to bring out a Salazzle-GX. So, I wonder... Or my opponent can go for the GX attack and discard all the energy off my active Volcanion, which would theoretically leave me stranded. Well, theoretically leave me stranded if I don't draw into something. So I think my opponent's play... I think what my opponent's trying to do is end me down low. And then... So my opponent's play is to end me down low, Queente's GX in order to get rid of all the energy on the Volcanion and potentially leave me stranded. And then find a way to knock out my Salazzle-GX. But no, he just decides to go for a Sycamore. Interesting, maybe he didn't have any ends left? I mean, that's the only explanation I can necessarily think, or unless he's VS seeking for a Skyla? Why wouldn't you... Well, I mean, I guess you end yourself down to 3, but you have he has a much lower deck than I do. Like, it's just significantly lower, so he would have more odds of drawing into something good, and now that he's Skylet, I have access to my Sycamore for later. Bodybuilding dumbbells, like, yeah, it's cool and all, but it doesn't prevent a knockout on... Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't prevent a knockout. Like, plain and simple. So he does get rid of all the energy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and Lele for a Guzma and win this game. I'm going to bring up something. Luckily, I do have the Guzma. I could have grabbed Acerola. Well, I mean, I guess never mind, because my Volcanion doesn't have damage on it. Let's Guzma up the Lele and then knock it out with Diabolical Claws to win the game. So that actually ended up being a really close game. I mean, I drew dead for a while, which was very unfortunate, but luckily, just by manually attaching to Volcanion, I was able to take a knockout on my opponent's Salazzle, which got me 2 early prizes and ended up actually being the difference in the game, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think Aura's version is actually much better than this because I don't know, this just seems a little bit too clunky to work properly. So yeah, if you want to see another version of Salazzle, definitely go check out my boy Aurabomb. He has a really cool one with Lurantis promo. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.